Hi, I'd like to start by saying hello to everybody, how much I'm missing you, and I hope you and your families are staying well. Thank you so much for all your emails and photographs you've been sending. It really made me smile and makes me know that you're enjoying your home learning, which is really important. Um, Today I'd like to tell you what I've been up to. Apart from spending time with my family and staying safe at home and going into school some days to help with the children that have parents working on the NHS, I've been doing my exercise and sometimes on my bicycle, but sometimes I've been walking in the countryside. I'm very lucky to have lots of countryside around me. In the woods, I've seen all sorts of different animals. One of the most spectacular was a baby deer that stopped in the woods and stared at me and I stared at it. I could hear woodpeckers, I've seen lots of birds, but I've also seen lots of insects. And I was very fortunate yesterday to come across a tiny green insect. I wonder if you could think what it was. It was a shield beetle. And I know that when we go to forest schools, we often feel really lucky when we spot a shield beetle. Well, it got me thinking about beetles. What do I know about them? So when I came home, I got out my book called The Book of Brilliant Bugs by Dr. Jess French. You might have heard of her. She has a television programme called Mini Beast Adventures with Jess. Perhaps you might have a chance to watch that sometime. Anyway, I looked for lots of different facts which I thought you might want to share with me today. The first one being that there are thousands of types of insects. Each insect has 3 pairs of legs. How many is that? 2, 4, 6. 6 legs altogether. And its bodies aren't quite like our body. An insect has 3 parts to its body. Also, some insects might have little feelers on the top of their heads, which we call antennae. Not all of them, but most of them. This helps the insects to touch, taste, and smell. Another thing that some insects may have is something called an exoskeleton. Exo meaning on the outside. I wonder why an insect would need a hard casing on the outside of its body. There's a thought for you in your science thinking. Now, just as I'm thinking about beetles, a joke has sprung to mind. What do you call a fly with no wings? It's called a walk. What do you think we could find out about next? I'm going to tell you what I did after I'd looked in my book. Go. On Mr. Boucher's desk, as a paperweight, was this beetle. Not sure if of you might know what type of beetle this is. You might find them in Egypt. It's called a scarab beetle. This particular beetle is a green scarab beetle, and it has an oval body. Very, very beautiful colour. And this one is actually found in Australia, and it likes to eat leaves and flowers, and they can grow up to 10 centimetres long. If you look on your ruler, you might be able to see how long 10 centimetres is. That's a very large beetle. Okay, I wonder when you look around your house if you'll find any beetle themed objects. I bet when you start to look about you could spot some beetles, and if not, you might be able to find a book to find some facts out yourself. Some more facts I found out when I started to think about beetles was, I wonder which is the heaviest beetle in the world. And when I looked that up, I found that it was called the Goliath beetle, based in Africa. And this can be up to 100 grams in weight. If you go around your house, you might find something, you could put it on your scales and feel what it is that is 100 grams. That's a heavy beetle. Another beetle that I found was named after the month that we're currently in. It's called a Maybug. Fancy having a bug named after the month of May. I wonder if you could find out what a Maybug might look like. There are over 4,000 species of beetles, so good luck in finding some facts out for yourself if you're interested in them. I'd also like to tell you a little bit about a new insect that I found. In the book, it told me that there was such a thing as a bee fly. A bee fly? How can you have an animal that's a bee and a fly? It's actually a fly, but that fly has a furry body like a bee, and it also buzzes when it flies as its wings vibrate. But the difference is it has one large spike on its head sticking out, and that makes it quite different to a bee. Okay, bees have special hairs on their insect legs, and these are to collect and carry pollen. They also do a gorgeous dance called a waggle dance. This tells the other bees where the good pollen is to go and collect. Perhaps you could have a go at doing a waggle dance with your brothers and sisters or family. Do you know the name of a bee's home? I think I might have mentioned it to a lot of you. It's called a hive, and that is where they will go to lay their honey in the honeycomb. The honeycomb is a very special shape with 6 sides. Can you remember its name? A 6-sided shape. That's right, it's a hexagon. Oh, another joke has sprung to mind about bees. How does a bee get to school? On a buzz. Okay, now my word of the day, because when we're talking about science, I know that you love long scientific words. So my word of the day today is entomology. Entomology comes from a Greek word meaning insect study. And I think studying insects might be something some of you might enjoy doing in your garden or when you're going out for walks today or another day with your family. Perhaps you could make a bug hotel, or perhaps you could pick up a log and see which bugs are underneath. Remember, you're spotting the animals that have 6 legs and 3 parts to their bodies. Now, I'd like to share with you a little story that I found about a bumblebee called Buzzy. Buzzy the bumblebee. One sunny day in a beautiful garden, there was a bumblebee named Buzzy. His stripes were black and yellow, and his coat was rather fuzzy. Buzzy liked to fly, like the other bumblebees. He danced with the flowers and swayed with the breeze. He also liked to read and thought himself worldly and wise, so Buzzy was startled when he read, "Bumblebees weren't made to fly." He read it over and over. Bumblebees weren't made to fly, according to studies and research, and it went on to explain why. Their wingspan is wrong. Their bodies are too big. Buzzy was confused. He thought, "I'm not a pig." Buzzy couldn't believe what he read. He kept thinking, "Can these facts be true? I've been flying all this time, and I shouldn't have been able to." He tried to make his wings work by pumping with all his might, but the words he had read were stuck in his head, and now something didn't feel right. Buzzy was stranded on top of a flower, longing to fly away. His heart still knew how, but his head had forgotten the way. Buzzy was scared. "How will I get down now that I can't fly any more? I'll have to climb down," he decided, something he'd never done before. With book in tow and little heart pounding, Buzzy tentatively took the first step. Then very, very slowly, down the flower he crept. Buzzy's foot started to slip and he felt himself letting go. "Oh no!" Thank goodness for a leaf, it helped cushion the blow. Dazed, Buzzy sat up, thinking, "What should I do now? My home is so far away. I've got to get there somehow." 2 dragonflies saw Buzzy walking, and they asked, "What's wrong with you?" Buzzy sadly told them, "My flying days are through." They didn't understand his problem because their wings worked just fine. "Would you walk with me?" Buzzy asked. "No, thank you," they declined. Feeling very envious and even a little mad, Buzzy had a funny feeling inside. He wanted what they had. Heavy-hearted, he trudged on, anxious to get home. Buzzy needed his family. He felt so alone. Just then Buzzy saw a stream and cried out in frustration, "Now that I can't fly any more, will I ever reach my destination?" Every problem has a solution, his mother always said. Buzzy had to find an answer. He'd have to use his head. At that very moment, a flower petal drifted by. It gently floated to the river's edge as Buzzy let out a sigh. Buzzy had an idea. "I need something that will float." Looking at the petal in the water, he thought, "That could be my boat." He picked up the blue jay's feather and cautiously pushed himself out. When Buzzy realised the petal would work, he gave a joyful shout, and he safely reached the other side. Buzzy was filled with relief, until he saw the tall, tall grass and was suddenly overcome with grief. Sadly, he remembered the days when over the grass he would soar. Once again he thought, what will I do now that I can't fly any more? Peering through the thick green grass, Buzzy thought, that just isn't fair. About to give up, he heard a voice say, don't stop, you're almost there. He looked up to see where it came from, but his eyes only met the sun. Mustering all the energy he had left, Buzzy began to run. Buzzy burst through the door with a tear in his eye. Mum and Dad, why didn't you tell me bumblebees weren't made to fly? Why, Buzzy, they said, you certainly can fly. Until now, that is. And do you know why? You're doubting yourself. Fear is blocking the way. Listen to your heart, Buzzy, not what others say. Ignore labels and limits. They seldom do good. They make you think you can't, when inside you know you could. Buzzy thought about what they'd said. He knew his parents were right. It's belief in ourselves that helps us take flight. Quickly, Buzzy ran out of the door and looked up at the sky. Bursting with confidence and desire, Buzzy shouted, I want to fly! Buzzy's wings fluttered and his spirit began to soar. Buzzy knew he would be all right. He would fly once more. And sure enough, Buzzy flew. And do you know why? By believing that he could, Buzzy was able to fly. So whenever you've got home learning, be like Buzzy, believe you can do it, have a go and try your best, because you're growing your brain every day. Now, I did a little painting for you because as I've walked around the streets and driven around, I have seen a lot of rainbows in people's windows. And do you know, there is a beetle called a rainbow beetle. So I thought, I know the children at Grove School are so good at art, perhaps they would like to use their brilliant imagination and the colours of the rainbow, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet, to create their own beetle, remembering that it might have 6 legs and it might have patterns, shapes, but 3 parts to its body. Here is one I've painted for you. And my rainbow beetle is symmetrical. It's the same on one side as the other, a bit like a butterfly. But yours doesn't have to be. It's sitting on a leaf, but yours could be sitting on anywhere you like, or you might just want to draw a beetle. Mine has got little claws on the end of its 6 legs, because often beetles have that design to help them cling on to different objects. And he has his antennae here, and he's got the rainbow colours. I used watercolour, and then when it dried, I put the details on with a black fine liner. But you can use whatever art medium you like, paint, pencils, chalks, whatever you've got, small or big. I really hope you enjoy creating your own rainbow beetle from your imagination. Okay, now the last thing I was thinking about was perhaps if you've got a moment and you wanted to play a new game, a game that you can just talk through with adults or your family, anybody at home with you. And it's called Fur, Scales, Feather or Skin. And what happens is you choose one person to start, and they use their imagination and they try and think of an animal that they can picture in their head. And then the other people in their family ask some questions and they try and give the right answer. The first question always has to be, does it have fur, feathers, scale or skin? And then they start to ask maybe about how many legs does it have, okay, where are its eyes, top of its head, and thinking about questions that could give them information to guess the animal that the person is thinking of. Whoever guesses it right, it's their turn next. So I really hope you enjoy playing that science game, and it's really good for your questioning skills, thinking about all the different adaptations and what an animal might look like. Thank you so much for listening today. Really hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more and growing your brain about beetles and insects, and I hope that I can teach you about something again very soon back in the classroom. Until then, stay kind, stay safe, cuddle your family very tight, and I leave you with my quote of the day, one of my favourite quotes. from Kung Fu Panda. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Enjoy today. I hope you do a lot of great learning and have a happy time. See you soon. Bye.